Hi, good morning. I'm gonna let this get started real quick. I'm excited for today's discussion. I apologize for running a little bit behind. Um, my husband's not feeling well. Poor thing. Um, so it's just me today. Thank you guys so much for joining. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. I'm excited for today's discussion. I've got a lot prepared. Um, the thing about relationships after trauma, regardless of what kind of relationship it is, if it's a significant other, if it's a family member, if it's a friend, I believe that most of this information will hold true for all of those people, for all of the relationships that you have in your life, because it's not just about having a significant other. That's nice and it's important at some point in your life, but healthy relationships in general are really what we're looking for, especially when we're talking about having relationships to support us in our healing, not just to support us in our healing, but having relationships that will support us in our healing, and be there with us afterwards. And that's what we need. We need long lasting, strong, meaningful relationships with people. And after going through trauma, it can be very difficult. I want to preface this with saying that, again, I've told you guys before. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I've told you guys again, but I want to say it again. Anything I say comes from the lens and the perspective of the survivor. I am not trained. I don't have any kind of degree. I'm not a psychologist or a counselor or a therapist or anything. I'm just somebody that has been through it and wants to share what's worked for me and what hasn't worked for me and all of the things. So, with that being said, I'm going to jump in. I do have some notes, so I apologize if it looks like I'm reading. There's just so much to cover in this chapter. We might end up having to split it into two. Um, so if you're enjoying this topic and we don't finish, please tune in tomorrow because we will wrap it up. But I'm going to jump in. So, creating and maintaining healthy and safe relationships after trauma. People, especially children who were abused, had their basic needs and aspects of safety. The idea of like safety in adults, they had that completely shattered. And this can lead to difficulty feeling calm. It can lead to the difficulty in the ability to expect caring and responsive, comforting connections from adults in your life. And as we know, anger, aggression, and controlling behaviors are major side effects of trauma. And we also know that those can be detrimental to relationships. So, knowing that these things are detrimental and recognizing them and then working on them is really going to help in creating and maintaining healthy relationships. Therapy can be one of the best ways to begin developing trust again in people. It can lead, as long as you have the right therapist, and it's probably going to take time. It's going to take you understanding what you need out of your therapy, you being able to connect with that person and feel safe with them. So once you find that person and you begin developing trust, it can really lead to finding even more secure, meaningful, and purposeful relationships and allow you to begin really reestablishing those connections with yourself, with building a network of support, and just with engaging in life more fully in general, of really putting yourself out there and enjoying life the way that you deserve to enjoy life. So, step number one, get into the meat and potatoes. Even in the slightest way, you have to learn to love something about yourself. Just one thing about yourself. It doesn't matter what it is. For me, I love how helpful I am. I love how much empathy I carry for people. Um, and I love, like, a physical thing about myself that I love my blue eyes. I think they are very beautiful. It took me a really long time to be able to say anything positive about myself. Anything at all. Not even anything about my character or the way I treat people. Nothing. I had nothing before. So it just takes a little practice, and it takes some work, and it takes some diving in. And it takes accepting the fact that you're worthy of love. You are worthy of love. Just like you're worthy of healing, you're worthy of love. Okay? Um, Find something about yourself that you love. One thing. Are you kind? Love that kindness. Are you generous? Are you a good listener? Are you selfless? Like, all of those things are really wonderful things for you to love about yourself. And they count. So count them. There is something to love about every single one of us. We just have to be willing to find it within ourselves. And I mean, being in a relationship, it can, uh, being in a relationship with someone, as long as it's a healthy relationship, can also help you find even more things to love about yourself. But it can also be more triggering and counterproductive if you are in an unhealthy relationship. And so we have to start with ourselves. We have to start with loving ourselves so that we can learn to love other people too. So, how can you fully and truly expect someone to love you if you can't even find one small thing to love about yourself? You have to put in the work to love yourself first. And I know it sucks. It sucks a lot, especially if you're still carrying around a lot of the shame and the guilt and the all of the negative things that come with being affected by trauma in your life. So your relationship with yourself has to be healthy. You have to love yourself. And your relationship with yourself has to be healthy in that you feed yourself nutritious food, you hydrate, you take care of your personal hygiene, you move your body, you put yourself in good, positive situations. Your relationships should be safe in that you establish and maintain boundaries. You can trust yourself to do what's best for yourself, and you can be self-observant. You can have a safe relationship with yourself and be kind to yourself. And having a safe relationship with yourself also looks like speaking kindly to yourself and having a realistic expectation for yourself and realistic expectations and standards for yourself. Not trying to be perfect, because perfect doesn't exist. It's not a real thing. It doesn't Nobody's perfect. Nobody is perfect, okay? Step number 2, trust and honesty with yourself and with others. It's so important. Trauma causes us survivors to be left feeling extremely vulnerable, um, extremely confused by what is safe. And what makes it extremely difficult is that it really takes away that ability to trust. It is so hard, even with those that we may have trusted in the past, before a trauma, and they didn't have anything to do with the trauma. But because of what you experienced and what you endured, it has affected every single one of your relationships. It's made it hard to interact with people. It's made um, your anxiety hard to deal with and hard to deal with in front of other people. So it is very difficult. And to rebuild this, I found that I have to learn to trust myself. I've learned that in order to trust other people, just like in order to love other people, you have to be able to trust yourself. You have to, that's one of the first ways of starting that rebuilding process of trusting other people is trusting yourself. In order to begin to trust other people again, I had to learn to trust myself again because I was then able to really trust my judgment again. I think when I think about my trauma, especially before I was really in my healing journey, I would look back and go, I used to think I was such a good judge of character. And then I think about my abuser and I think about how much trust and um, love I put into him and received from him right away. And all of the negative things that tend to race through our minds until we break it down and say, no, it wasn't my fault. Um, I'm a victim here and it was not my fault. So learning to be able to trust your judgment again and understanding that you are a safe space and you can be safe for yourself and you can trust yourself. So for me, learning to be kind and learning to love myself was really the basis for learning to trust myself again. It kind of builds on each other. So you start to love yourself and then you start to trust yourself and then you can start to love and trust other people, and it's a beautiful thing. And how I've learned to also relearn to love myself is through writing exercises. um, the one that I shared in the video, I believe it was yesterday, about the bibliotherapy video about how I think it was John Bradshaw in The Homecoming, walks you through meditations and guides you to your younger self, and it's very beautiful, and it works. It really helped me. So writing exercises helped me trust myself, listening to myself, listening to what I need, what I want, and being honest about that really helped me trust myself again, and allowing myself to feel my emotions and letting them be without judgment, without saying, oh, that's stupid, or I can't believe I feel that way. Just let it be. It's okay to feel your feelings. It's okay. Feelings don't mean what is happening is fact, especially for us who are still working through trauma, because a lot of the times our trauma brains are looking for danger everywhere. And it's just, I mean, there's danger in the world, and that's true, but there's still good people out there, and it's not everywhere. It's not with every single person. There are safe people. So learning to trust yourself is the first step, and then you can learn to trust other people. Observing yourself from an objective standpoint and realizing the traits that you have due to your trauma, those that are not really your own, that you've adapted and created in order to survive the trauma that you did. And then after realizing those, you start breaking those down. That will give you a really, really strong foundation to rebuild your sense of self. And I call it being honest with myself, which is, you just have to be honest with yourself. Um, and it helps with regaining that sense of self by showing you what is underneath. It's showing you what is underneath the effects of the trauma, and that's you. You're underneath the effects of the trauma. And it's so beautiful once you're able to really dig down in there and find that little glimmer of yourself again. I got so excited when I found that person again. I didn't realize how much I missed myself. And that can be really beautiful to reconnect with yourself again and to realize that you've missed yourself. So be objective in observing yourself. Don't be too critical on yourself, but you have to keep yourself in check, right? And so then we move on to the trust in others. Before we have trust in others, we have to understand that the put up and shut up mentality that we learned from the trauma we endured, it really hurts current and new relationships because it results in you hiding in your feelings, and you tend to be withdrawn, And then the discomfort brings the opportunity for misunderstanding. And when misunderstanding comes and you're not fully equipped to deal with that, then you again resort into hiding your feelings and withdrawing. But in healthy relationships and with healthy people, misunderstandings are actually the chance to grow and learn even more about each other, which is beautiful. And that's what we want. We want to feel connected to people. We want them to want to learn new things about us. We want to learn new things about them too. But this isolation, if you are withdrawing into your feelings, it can lead to dishonesty in your relationship in general, because you're not building the foundation of trust with your feelings. You're not able to even express how you're feeling. So how can you feel safe in expressing anything else that might be going on in the relationship? You can't. At least for me, I found that when my husband and I were first married, I had the hardest time. I still have the hardest time communicating, especially when it's a conflict that needs to be resolved in a relationship. And we'll get to this in a minute, but it really makes it hard to say, okay, but I need this, or you did this and it made me feel this way, or any of those healthy conversations that we should be having in our relationship. The trauma makes it very difficult for us to have those conversations. So we have to be comfortable with ourselves. We have to love ourselves, know that we're worthy of love, know that we're worthy of healing, and then start to trust other people again and start to allow them in just a little bit, but eventually you let them in. Not being able to be honest with your partner or your family members or what have you about how you're feeling, thus leading to trust and being able to tell them other things that are wrong, it really can ruin the relationship if it's left unchecked. Like, you have to nurture your relationships. They're not just going to fall in your lap and be there and then be healthy. That's not going to happen. You have to be intentional about it. So I do think that it is important for your close relationships to know that you're dealing with the side effects of trauma. You can be in control of how much you share or how vague you are. But the important thing is that they know or learn, either one. They either already know or they're willing to learn about the behaviors and moods and symptoms and triggers that'll go with your trauma, that you will go through and you will experience in your healing journey. They need to know so that they can not expect it, but they won't be caught off guard. They won't be surprised. People tend to react poorly when they don't expect what's coming, when they have surprise. So if your family, those who are close to you, that mean something to you, that you want to maintain a relationship with, that you know in your heart are good people, they have to know at least a little bit of what you're going through in order to be able to be there for you. They have to know that you're hurting in order for them to be there for you. They can reach out and they can say, hey, how you doing? I kind of noticed you're a little off. And if you just say, oh, I'm fine, it's just I'm tired, but really you're dealing with like deep sadness, sorrow, you're dealing with like mourning your loss. Those are big things, and they deserve to be treated as such, and they deserve to have the relationships that you're in your life. You deserve to have those people treat you with that kindness and that respect. So you have to give them the opportunity. Again, if you're just going, I'm okay, I'm just a little off, I'm just a little sleepy, they're not going to know what's going on with you. They're not going to be able to help. And then you're going to think, oh, they don't really care. And it'll be this negative spiral in your mind. You have to understand that people are not mind readers. They don't know what's actually going on. And even if you tell them, they're still not really going to know. They're not going to understand because they didn't go through what you went through. And it's okay for them to not understand. What is not okay is for them to blame you or shame you or make you feel weird about it or anything like that. So you do have to be selective in who you tell. Um, it's especially helpful when you're triggered or when you're going through your healing process to have people who know what's going on with you. I do want to put in here that, like, when you are entering into new relationships, please be cautious about how much you initially share and when you share it. Because while we shouldn't be walking around in fear, we do have to be honest and know that there are predators out there. There are abusive people out there, physically, mentally, emotionally, sexually, obviously. Um, they are out there. And again, we shouldn't walk around in fear. They're not everywhere, they're not looming around each and every corner, but they're out there. And they're gravitated towards broken people who they can manipulate easily and take advantage of and control. They're looking for people who are being vulnerable. Um, they know what to look for. So the important thing is that you're practicing being strong. You're practicing being outspoken about injustice. You're practicing maintaining those boundaries. And we'll get into more about boundaries here in a second. But we have to be real and understand that statistically, not true for everybody, but statistically, once somebody has been abused, it tends to be easier for them to be abused again. Statistically, it shows that people who have been abused once are likely to be abused again, even if it's in some other kind of abusive way. And that's because we're already broken down. We're broken down and we're susceptible to disease. And the disease is all these other abusers and predators and people out here who want to hurt people. So you have to trust yourself, you have to love yourself, you have to respect yourself in order to have boundaries so that you can protect yourself from those bad people. And to have your judgment be okay with yourself and like make sense to yourself. Be like, I trust my judgment. Like, I know this person is good. That's what you need. You have to heal and be the opposite of what those predators are looking for. Again, strong, speaking up against injustice, holding true to your boundaries, speaking kindly to yourself, knowing your worth. All of those things are going to show any potential predator out there, oh, this isn't the one, she's not the one, she's not so broken. Or he, like, all of you guys out there, every single person is probably relating to this right now. And if you're not, I would love to hear your experience. Please share your experience. Everybody has different ways of dealing with relationships, of having relationships, and there's probably more than one way to have a healthy relationship. So I'm just now through step number 2. So I have 2 more to go through, and it's already 8 o'clock. Dang it. But the last thing I will leave you guys with is the idea that in learning to trust others, you really have to try to notice people who are acting in caring ways, who are being kind, especially to all of the people around them, especially when it's not prompted, or they're not just doing it because they want to be in a relationship with you, or they're courting you, or they want to be your friend, but they are genuinely just supportive and nurturing by nature. And then approach those people. Or if you're already in connection with those people, be intentional with those people. Be intentional about building that relationship. Go out of your way to be kind to them, within reason, of course. Like, you don't be smart. and begin to nurture that relationship. Think about what you want that relationship to look like in its best form, and then construct that relationship through the little things that you can add to every day, every week, or every month, depending on what the thing is. Obviously, you can't take a nice trip every day, but you can maybe do that once a month or once a year. But you can call somebody once a day or once a week. You can shoot them a text. You can surprise them with a gift. You can say kind words. All of these things are possible. And my last bit of advice here is that healthy relationships in the present, they really can help you heal from your past. They can help regain a sense of calmness within the world, within your world especially. Like it's so beautiful. And it does take time and it does take work and it's not easy. It doesn't happen overnight, but it is possible. It is possible to have a healthy, meaningful, strong, safe relationship after suffering trauma. You just have to put in the work. You have to put in the work for yourself and for your partner. Okay, guys? So, again, that was step 2. Step number 1, learn to love yourself. You have to learn to love yourself before you can learn to love other people again. It's just the truth. It's just the truth, you guys. Step number 2, learning to trust yourself and others. You have to learn to love yourself, learn to trust yourself, and then you can learn to trust and love other people. Okay? Tomorrow, we're going to wrap up this topic, and it'll be step number 3, clear communication. And step number 4, knowing, maintaining boundaries, and red flags to look out for. It's 2 very important topics for wrapping up this healthy relationship conversation. So I will see you guys tomorrow. Thank you for everyone that joined me this morning. I really appreciate you guys. I hope you took some good information out of this. Let me know what you think in the comments on the replay, and I will catch you guys tomorrow. Don't forget, you are worthy of healing, you are worthy of love, and you're not alone. Have a great day.